I know I had a bunch of people look at my personal statement because it's hard to write a personal statement. It's not like you're not used to writing, but I don't like talking about myself.
Eventually, you're going to start picking up keys. You're going to start seeing similarities. And then, what I would do is I would go into those meetings with a notebook and I'd write down all the little acronyms.
Yeah, so think about that. If you're the first person to get your application in the portal on that day, you're the first application that those schools are going to see out of that 15,000. And welcome back to Three Guys in a White Coat, the podcast where we give you our insights on the path to becoming a medical student. Just a quick refresher, remember you guys, the information that we're giving you is not to be taken to the T. This is just supposed to be some guidelines of what you can do, what you can look for in your time while you're waiting to become a medical student, okay? We just want to make sure that we keep that out there for you guys and get it rolling. But as always, I'm Mike Bernasani, and I'm here with Matt Semler.
What's up, guys? And
we have our second guest on the podcast for Season 2, Keats.
Hello, everyone.
So, just to get everyone a little acquainted, so Keats is a third year here at Loyola. So we're going to do a quick little dive in on where he is in his medical school process right now. And then we're going to go into how he got to medical school. But, so in your third year, you kind of get out of the classroom. You're done with all of your coursework pretty much. You've taken step one. Congratulations, Keats.
Keats, you're done. You got your score. You're through.
And now you're actually in the hospital rotating, doing different jobs, doing real things. So, Keats, can you just kind of give the listeners an idea of like what's going on right now? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, for sure. So you had mentioned rotations. The way that we do it here at Stritch and many of the other medical schools is you know, as a doctor, you need to know about all the different specialties. You need to have some, experience in it. The idea of like a doctor is, if someone on the plane is like, hey, help is there a doctor on board, you should have some base set of skills. So with that, rotating through, or trying out all these different specialties, learning the skills that each of those specialties bring about, super important. I know for me, so right now I am on my OB-GYN rotation, obstetrics gynecology. Specifically, I am on labor and delivery nights. And yeah, so it's 6 weeks on OB-GYN, and they put you at different parts in the hospital, different places, get different experiences on that front. I then go to psychiatry for 6 weeks, family medicine for 6 weeks, then pediatrics for 6 weeks, and then we switch up for the second semester and do internal medicine for a bit. Neurology, surgery, and then some elective time, and then in the fourth year, emergency medicine and more elective stuff.
And you're like actually working at this point. This is not like holding your hand, right? Like you are with the patient, like you are responsible for what's going on, right?
Yeah, they. It goes very much from. Having your hand held during first and second year, they get you in the hospital a little bit, but like your mentor or physician you're working with is right there, or obviously, in undergrad, shadowing, you're hanging out, you're asking the doctor questions and things, but like, no, you were in charge of these people's of their healthcare, and obviously there is some observing and reporting back, but like, no, it is very much, these are my patients. I see them. I ask the questions that we as physicians will eventually ask. It is all it's the real thing. It's very weird because we're coming from first and second year. It's like all you're in the classroom. You guys have we call it PCM, but like you learn how to ask the patients these certain questions and things, but like. It's then you're there, you're doing the real things, and it's it's a huge pickup for that for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems like it goes more from like whenever we're shadowing first year and then into second year. You maybe do like a history, you maybe do like part of a physical exam to like actually going in and like you're getting the full reporting back to the attending, and then the attending's probably just confirming everything, right?
Yeah, very much so. It's also, it's not just like a report. I mean, the big thing with third year and fourth year is it's not just like, hey, I asked these questions, these are their answers to the questions. It's, okay, within the talking to them, and while you're talking to them and then walking back to the physician, it's like, all right, what do you think it is? What's on your what's called differential, which is like, hey, these are the top few things I think it's going to be. This is how we would, diagnose them. This is how we rule them in and rule them out. These are the these are the tests we'd run, and then these are, this is how we would treat them potentially. And so it's very much like the doctor stuff.
Yeah,
it's very much it. Yeah.
I remember when I first went with Andrea, who was my M3 last year,
Oh, yeah.
and we went into I was on the neuro ICU with
Yeah.
her. She went in by herself.
Yep.
She did all the tests.
Yep.
She came to the doctor. She was like, all right, this is what the results were. This is what I'm thinking. This is where I think we should go. And I was like, oh my God, like that's what third year is going to be?
Yeah.
I need
was
to
like,
know all of that by third year.
I know it, but it was kind of cool too, because it was almost like, all right, like when I am in third year, like you are practicing to
Yes.
being a physician. Like
Very, very much.
you're
so.
not just following someone and being like, oh, like that was kind of cool. It's like, okay, like they just had this sign, so in my head I'm thinking this, so I need to do this next to confirm that, or to not, or to like
Yeah.
move on to something else.
Yep.
Right.
Which is so cool, and it's amazing to me and Matt that next year, like that's where we're going to be.
Yeah, it really kind of it freaked me out, like being in your guys' shoes first and second year, just looking at third years and just being like, I don't know where that knowledge is going to come from.
Yeah.
Because we know what certain diseases look like under the microscope, and we know what happens when you stand up to your blood pressure, and like just things that like are drilled into your head like from first and second year, but not as much like all the other things. And it's just like where is that going to come from, all this other stuff. But with as with anything in life, it looks absolutely crazy until you do it.
Yeah,
And you practice it, you learn from these people, you do it over and over again, and like then it doesn't seem so crazy. I mean, I remember first year looking at second year and being like, how the
That's where I'm at right now.
yeah. I mean, but like it seemed obscene how much knowledge there was, and that you're like, there's no way this can fit in my head. There's no way I can study
Exactly.
for these things. There's no way I can do all this stuff. But it's like as with anything, you'll be, you will get through it. You'll make it. You'll be okay. You just, need to be comfortable with obviously messing up. Obviously, knowing that that's okay, and that's how you learn. and
It's a
all
learning
that.
process.
Yeah, absolutely. As with any of these things, I mean, yeah, I am in no way perfect. I am very, very, early on into my third year clerkships, which is, this is just finished up my third week overall in OB-GYN. So like, my differentials and my presentation skills are not great,
But you're figuring it out.
yeah, exactly. And, it's, as with, I think, like learning a language or something, immersion is the best way to do it. And
Agreed.
It's been, it will work out for sure.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that with the listeners. They always like to kind of hear like, not only like how do I get there, but also like what's it like once you're there? What are the next steps?
Yeah.
I don't know how it is for the listeners and how it was for you guys, but like, the biggest thing that I was focusing on in like undergrad was just like getting in.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as much like I didn't know step 1, step 2, step 3.
I had no idea.
The different things on that front. I was so concerned and focused on like, I need to get a good score on the MCAT. I need to do these certain things. And like, that seemed like the biggest hurdle. And if I get past that point, great. I'll figure everything out from when I'm there. And so when I got there, I was like, oh, there's a lot more. There's a lot more there.
It's interesting because like I give tours to a bunch of people. And I know like people are doing interviews this year.
Yeah.
It's interesting the kind of questions that you get, because I did have like a lot of people that were like that, asking like very basic questions. What's school like? What's the actual like camaraderie of the class?
What happens after?
Yeah, but then I get people that are like, well, like what are like fourth year clerkships like? What are third year clerkships like? And I was like,
I'm not there yet.
I'm not there yet. Well, how's step? I'll let you know in a year. So it's interesting that you do have that wide range of people that are thinking, like you said, and I think like all of us were, let's get in, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Or people that are like, well, I wonder if I get into clerkships like half a semester early, or like stuff like that.
So you were talking, Keats, that you were thinking about like the MCAT and stuff. Like, where did you go to college? Like, where are you from?
Okay, so I'm born and raised in San Diego, or just north of San Diego. Lived there for 18 years, and then I went kind of, I think the furthest away in the continental United States you can from San Diego, which is Boston, Massachusetts.
I didn't know you went to you were in Boston.
Yeah, I was at Boston College for
Right.
graduating class of 2017.
Nice.
So went there. Very much, I had an idea of like, oh yeah, pre-med sounds nice. I like science, I like people, those types of things, but didn't really, it was basically, my understanding of medicine was very much at that level. I had a very inspirational AP biology teacher who, I'd always liked maths and the sciences. Like, she was very much like, hey, like, that's a path. And I was like, okay, cool, that sounds good. And, I don't know about you guys, but was a massive fan of Scrubs. And so I was like, that seems fun. But that was really kind of as far as I had known for the pre-med stuff. So went to BC, and very quickly I took an EMT course my freshman year of college, first semester freshman year, which was a bold choice because turns out you have to adjust to college, and classes are harder in college.
You have to spend more time studying.
Yeah, well, I had to study. I was very, very good in high school at getting just the 90.0 because got you the A. And there was no difference between an A- and an A for GPA-wise in high school, so I was like very good at that.
Nice.
And then I was like, didn't realize that in college that first off, there's a difference between an A- and an A. Secondly, that you need to study and not just study the night before. So very much got my butt kicked first semester, and then just since then, after that, it was very much buckling down, just like I really think I want to do this.
When did that happen? Like, when was the point where you were like, you know what, like medical school, like that's what I'm going to go toward? Did someone like kind of guide you towards that, or was it like you had peers, or where did that come from?
That's a very good question. It's always been an evolving thing.
Yeah.
It's always been something where I even like, truthfully, like the best answer to when did I know I wanted to go to medical school was when I was in medical school, which is weird. But it was during my first standardized patient where I was like in the office with them. We see these patients who are paid actors, and we had a few practice ones where they were just kind of like in these small groups. But the first one where it's like you're in basically a mock doctor's office, you have the white coat, you have all these things. And it was very much like sitting there about 3 minutes in after the nerves calmed down of just talking to my patient. And I was like, oh my God, I'm talking to a patient. And they're actually here telling me their problems. They're actually here like trusting in me and confiding in me and being there. I'm there with them and hopefully going to be able to provide some answers to them or just be with them through this process. That like was kind of like, when I truly knew, but like in college, it was very much like, it was always just this kind of general vibe of like, okay, that seems cool. That, I working as an EMT, I had some experiences with patients and things where it's like, okay, that seems like I'm going in the right direction. I did a bunch of research in organometallic chemistry, which what I really liked academically found very interesting, but wasn't. It definitely felt like I was missing something. And so it was kind of these things where I was like going at each of the extremes of like, okay, tons of patient care. Like as an EMT, it's like, I'm seeing tons of patients, worked on my college campus, like it was all my peers and faculty and other things of that sort, to the other end of it where it was like pure academia and, not as much engaging with the humanities part of it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so it was kind of just like this bouncing back and forth, did a lot more service, a lot more mentorship, these other things. And so it was always like, I was always trying to, like, I always told people I was pre-med and always told people I was interested in medical school. But, like, the true thing, I was never, like, there was always a little bit of uncertainty in me and always a little bit of doubt. As I think there is with any major decision you're making in life, I remember having very great talks with just, like, random mentors of mine who I was just like, how did you know you wanted to do this? How did you know that this specific profession, not even medicine, just like your profession was what you wanted? Yeah. Because it's like, we're taking how many hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt?
A lot.
Yeah,
too much.
Yeah, 300,000 without interest. Who's counting? But the government is.
It's only getting larger every day.
Well, it's just I have like a giant LED clock in my room of my debt. It's great, super helpful. So I talked to them, because it was just I was making a momentous decision. I was just like, how did you know? And like they like, this is the thing. This is exactly where I knew I wanted to do before doing it. Mm-hmm. You can have general ideas and make guesses, and I think, you guys talked about this a bit with your volunteer podcast. Definitely check it out if you haven't checked it out.
Someone listened to it.
That's a nice little plug. Appreciate it.
Of course. That's what I'm here for. But like, with that, there are so many jobs in this world to try out. There are so many different things to try out, see what you like, see what you don't like from it. And so it was just a giant game for me of, okay, I like that, didn't like that part. Like this, didn't like that part. Like this, didn't like that part. And then sort of by the end of it, I was like, okay, I think this is it. I kept on going through, I continued to love my classes, continued to love the things, that I was doing, that I was learning. Obviously, some more than others, and on that front. But like,
what was one that you didn't like? Like, what was a course in college that you had to take for pre-med that you were just like, I don't want to do this? Like, a lot of people talk about organic chemistry.
Yeah. So, as someone who did research in organometallic chemistry, I understand. Or don't get me wrong, I have not used any of my organic chemistry knowledge in medical school. I'm sorry, AAMC. But probably, like, I didn't like my cell bio class at all. Like, obviously, cell bio relevant to medicine and all of that, and I like it when we've learned tines and things here. But like the amount of times, you can.
This is a reduction reaction.
It's
an oxidation.
Yeah, like,
Or even like mitosis, meiosis, that stuff.
It felt devoid of what's the term? Just application.
Yeah. It didn't feel like you could apply it to a person at that point.
Yeah. And I knew that you needed to learn the basics. Obviously, you need to know lysosomes to know the storage diseases. Obviously, I don't need to tell you guys that. But like, that was just felt more of a grind than physio in my class, where it's like every single day it was like, here's this random fun fact about like your body, and you're like, what? I've never thought about that. And like, that's super fun and super cool, and like, I could find myself engaging a lot more with that, and saw it relevant in certain clinical practices of mine or other things of that sort. But like, cell biology. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think it's nice when you go into physiology, like you can see that in practice. Like you can see like
absolutely
respiration rates and like the different tidal volumes and stuff like that. But as you said, it's very hard to see like a cellular disease unless you're going to pathology. You look at it under the microscope, but it's very hard to put this cellular component that is malfunctioning and then it's going to go into this cancer. You know what I mean? I
would say that, and then I'm going to let you ask a question in a second somewhere. But like, Keith, what you just brought up is a great point of, we had a podcast episode where someone had reached out to us and said, I'm in my first year of pre-med at college, and I really don't like these courses that I'm taking right now. And I think that's the point that we tried to make to them, is that you're not going to like every single course that you take.
Yeah.
You've got to find the ones that really jive with you, and if then they fit into medicine, great. If they don't, then maybe you think about something else. But you're not going to always like all the courses, and you will find the ones that you love and that you attach to.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, I know, I have not done a titration since, like first year. And so, of course, Gen Chem and I were not the best of buds in any way, shape, or form either. But it was just one of those things where I just kind of made it, I made it through the first little bit, and I was like, okay, let's actually see what these courses are. And now that I've gone through the intro stuff, now that I like know that this is where I start to see the applications. This is where I start to see, these things that is interesting to myself and a lot of humanity, like, start to play out.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit. We talked a little bit about like mentorship experiences. Did you have someone in particular at BC, correct? At BC that, really drove you towards medicine? I know you worked as an EMT, and then you're in the research lab, and you weren't, I assume working in the research lab kind of deferred you away from going towards the PhD route and maybe more towards the MD. Was there somebody along the lines that really kind of like let you into like, this is what an MD is going to be like? This is actually what medicine is like?
That's a good question. The majority of my mentors in college were, so I had on the research front, they were all very much more like, don't do medicine, come do the Chem PhD with us, type of vibe. not necessarily with them specifically, but just like in general, like they find
people always want you to do what they're doing.
Yeah, of course. And I will say it is concerning when people are like, "Don't do what I'm doing," and you're like, "Whoa, okay, that's a different thing." But with them, so the majority of my mentors were more student mentors. It was less. I mean, I had a few teachers who were really helpful with me and really connected on it, but they weren't MDs. They were I had a sociology professor who was very huge during my junior year. So other teachers who were big on just different parts of my life. There was a Jesuit who we would grab dinner every once in a while and just chat about like Jesuity things and all that type of stuff. There were things on that front, but it was majority students of mine. It was I was involved as a mentor like during my junior and senior year with a lot of mentorship stuff, but like as a freshman, like seeking out through mentorship programs or just like RA friends and through their friends and stuff, just like people who were years above me and just like, hey, like how did you do this? How are you doing? How has all this been? And a lot of it was more just like a lot of like the how I knew I wanted to more go into medicine and just like through the mentorship side of things was just like through mentors who were engaged in service.
Okay,
that was really big for me. It was just like more of the focus on the humanity, on the human part, because as much as I love a lot of the science and like I weirdly really liked organic chemistry and weirdly like a lot of these some of the hard science type of things, I really needed the humanities to engage with and that to inspire me and to like fill me with the love that drives me. And like so the mentors were really it was just looking out for mentors in these service groups and in these other things and just being like understanding where they came from, because like service wasn't a big part of my upbringing, and like really being like, oh, what are all these things, and like learning from them.
So these weren't specifically like medical school specific mentors. No. These were kind of covering. No, you talked about the sociology professor. And these were kind of covering all different breaths.
No, I was very much. I didn't have like your stereotypical like my letters of rec from like an MD who taught the upper div phys course, the MDs who I shadowed, and the PhD from the lab. Like
who were yours then?
Yeah.
So the Soch professor, the biostats professor, who's the Jesuit, my research professor, who are my other two? Oh my gosh. They're going to be very upset if they listen to this. I'm very sorry. I really appreciate your letters. They meant a lot to me, I swear. I'm trying to remember.
But that's interesting. So you had more like professor, like teachers and all that.
Yeah. I was much more just like, I knew that my academics would be fine, barring my first semester, which, ripped to that GPA. But
and that happens. Like, first years go through that all the time.
Yeah, and seriously.
And they expect it, too. You expect it to get better. And that's what actually one of my advisors told me. She was like, if you do bad first semester, it doesn't really matter as long as you, like, improve from it and you're getting better each year.
They want that trend to be going up. If you start off, guys, if you're out there and you start off on what some people would call, like, a lower note, just make sure that you keep building it up so that way, like, you tail up towards the end of your college career. If you go the opposite direction, like let's say you get a 4.0 your freshman year, and then you like kind of dip down, they don't look at it in such a great way. So just make sure if you have a bad semester start, you can fix that. That's fine. But one thing I did want to ask you, Keith, was you've talked about like this humanities portion a lot. What were some of the projects that you were doing in college?
For sure.
Like, was there anything that you did with someone where you were like, wow, this was unreal, like volunteering, or like you were getting paid for it, or like anything like that you can think of?
This is gonna be hard because so one of the most important sort of service things that I was involved in. There are fortunately a wide variety of things, and obviously I can happily talk about the EMT thing as well. But like on just pure non-medicine related things, there was a retreat that I led my. I went on my junior year and led my senior year called Kairos for the Midwesterners. Basically, and it's hard because at BC and at other places as well, there are certain surprises that I don't want to spoil in case you are one of those people, if you guys ever are aware of it. But essentially, it's a retreat that's very, very much focused on allowing you to realize the love that exists within your life. There's a little bit of religious tinge to it, but I'm not super religious in any way, shape, or form, and so it was like totally open and available to that. But like what I loved about engaging with it and working on it and leading it, and then leading it multiple times and like all this stuff was just like seeing how important and beautiful the love that exists within people's lives is to them, and realizing that every single person you walk past, every single person who and don't know, and it just is in the world, has some love there that fills them up in some way. And knowing that, and like this retreat does a great job in allowing them to realize that in a very physical, tangible way that like just unequivocally brings everyone to tears. It's very, very beautiful. And as a medical student, but just as like a human, like that's a huge thing to know about yourself and know about others. And yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to like summarize it very, very
without giving away like the spoilers.
Yeah, without giving away spoilers, but also just like it was just this. I'm really trying to think. Like I don't think I could be a good physician without recognizing that. And this is just a personal thing, but like, and I think people come to it in very different ways. But just like realizing that everyone's human, realizing that there are these things, that you aren't just you. You are made up from all these other people. You are, the amalgamation of so many different people's love and thoughts and all these things. And
yeah. That leads right into the quote that's right outside the door right there. I was ill and you cared for me.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the big quotes that's right across one of our like little like stairwells at Loyola. And it's just the whole point of, a lot of times people get worried because they come in and they feel like they're treated as the disease. And that's not the point. Like the point is we're trying to educate people to look at you as a person with an issue that needs to be fixed. And that's the whole point that you just talked about, Keith.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
You want to realize these people are more than just like a widget that's walking into the office someday. Right. They have feelings, they have emotions, they have things that are going on with them. Yeah. So that sounded like an amazing. Did you talk about that in your personal statement?
Weirdly, so the retreat actually came after my personal statement, like leading it. I went on as a retreatant much earlier, but I talked about, it was basically like all of my interviews was just talking about that. Okay. And like all my interviews went quite well. They could clearly tell I was, passionate about it, and was able to talk about it for a bit because, and as you guys have talked about in previous ones as well, like that's what's important. It's just what makes you, and that's what we're looking for. I am on the admissions committee, and have interviewed people all last year for the incoming class, and like that's what it's very easy to tell if you're passionate about it or not, and I think they were able to feel that with me as well.
I'm gonna go back to something you said too. You said about you're not super religious, but you went to you're now at 2 different Jesuit institutions.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's something that can confuse people sometimes with coming to a religious school and what is all going to be taught. And there is the religious influence. We have mass and prayer and things like that. But a lot of it, like we've all touched on, it's a lot about caring for the actual person. Yeah, it's a lot about approaching it as a person and figuring out what you can do to make their life better instead of teaching them that this is the virus that's causing this disease and we need to give them antiretrovirals and stuff like that. So I really like that you brought that up. Yeah.
So since you just said that you've been doing admissions committee stuff here, I always like these stories. What's like of the people that you interviewed last year, like what's the one that jumps to mind that you're like, that person like knew what was going on, or like the one that you were like, this person has no idea what's going on?
I mean, so on both ends, and it basically just comes down to, and once again, you guys have brought this up at various points, but is very much it's self-reflection and self-awareness. It is very people who really know their own story, really know what drives them, and like. As a pre-med student, I was always like, I don't know what drives me. I don't know, all these things. Like when people are like, do the thing that you love. And at that point in my life, I was like, I don't know, I didn't know what it was. But like through time, through a lot of self-reflection, which for the non-Jesuit people is just like talking to mentors, talking to others, people who you think know you, and like bouncing ideas off of, I think this works, I think this not. Did I feel more like myself, less like myself during this? Did it bring about moments of joy or was I not moved as much? Those types of things. And so with the candidates who were like absolutely like stellar, it was like I'd ask a question and they, it just radiated out of them, like their love of what they did there, and also very composed too. Very, very, very composed, very, very much knew what they were doing. And I absolutely loved it. For those who, maybe weren't the best fit for here, it was on the other end of it. It was like, they had the activities, they had scores, but they weren't able to talk about it in a way where they were passionate about it, where they were infectious, or they just hadn't, you could tell they weren't
experienced enough yet?
Experienced or mature enough for it. They hadn't they talked about the classic questions that you get on these med school essays of what's the challenge and how you overcame it.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, they talked about the challenge and how they overcame it, but it didn't really feel like they learned from it.
Oh, you feel like it was just like a one-time thing where it's like they went through this and
they went through this. This was the result, and I was just.
And they would repeat the same issue again if it came up again.
Yeah, and I was just like, it was just like, or like your result. The reason why you changed wasn't, or you can change for whatever reason, but it just, it was just like, I didn't feel as though they had grown from it as much as I would have liked. And that's totally fine. We're each at our own stages and journeys in our lives, and it's not a reflection of, it's not a judgment or a value upon someone else. But if we're talking what you're looking for as an interviewee, it's someone who is very much aware of who they are.
The introspection.
Yeah, the introspection is very, very huge.
Yeah.
Very, very huge for me
I
personally.
want to ask you a question about that too, because we actually just had someone come to us and talking about they weren't sure if interviewers or admissions staff were going to understand their point, understand. You always hear the show don't tell, when you're writing an application.
When did we talk about this?
I remember this was on the train when we were going into the city.
Oh, you're right. Yes. For Emily's friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so do you feel as someone that has interviewed applicants, reviewed applications, do you find that it's easy to understand when people are very passionate about something, or when they understand that they have gotten they have changed from it, like you said, the person that didn't change too much? Do you find that it's easy to understand that? Because I think that's something that worries a lot of pre-meds.
And that's totally understandable. I mean, when you're given I forgot what was the smallest essays that we had to write, definitely less than
the secondaries?
Yeah, for secondaries. I forgot. I know that there were 500 word ones, and kept on getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah,
and
they
smaller.
were tiny.
Yeah,
going to be very finite and very concise.
Yeah, exactly. It's just barely longer than your description on the actual application of the activity that you're doing. And you're I can't add anything more to this. When it's those types of things, of course, determining passion from that's hard. That's less where we're going to get it from. Really, a lot of passions obviously in the interview when we're talking to you. But yeah, I mean, on the essay, essays are definitely harder to determine it, but I wish that there was a certain formula I could give you guys. And as a med student, I was just how do I convey myself in a way where they care about it? And realistically, just with the sheer nature of it, not everyone's gonna catch that you're really passionate about this, and that's okay. I mean, I applied to 28 schools, and I know for a fact not all of them, got what I was putting down. I'm actually still waiting on UCLA's secondary. If you guys will send it over, I would very much be interested in that. I don't know if it got lost in the mail or what, but it's okay.
Sometimes email. They get traffic. They get sent other places by accident.
Check your spam.
I did.
Okay.
I did check my spam. And it's okay, UCLA. It's fine. I will still be applying to your residency, but I would like to hear from you guys before that. But it's cool. But so there isn't a magic formula. There isn't something where it's just this is the thing. This is the correct answer to show my passion, to show my love for this. Right. But I mean, give us an anecdote about it. I mean, there is give us an anecdote, show us, something random about where you work or an interaction or a person, just something that sticks out to you. What's spend some time thinking about on this, as an EMT, what comes up in your mind, not just the cool case, but it's okay, if I asked you, what was a weird interaction for you? What was a who was ask your partner what's a case who's someone who sticks with you, what's an interaction that left you wanting more, or just see where you find yourself talking more.
Right.
And just go from that. It's, I know you've done it for 4 years. I know you've, made it up to this rank. We all see that. Avoid just the accolades or things of that sort.
And that's common to everyone too.
Yeah.
We talked about that too. That like everyone has the grades, everyone has the score.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're competing against some top tier people when you get to this point. So
Yes, you
at
are.
that point, it comes down to
But
not only what have you done, but how can you show that to me, and how have you grown, how have you learned?
Yeah.
Just like you said, that introspection, it's so key. And
Yeah.
for those of you that have followed along for a while, you remember the podcast where we talked about passion. It's all about that passion.
sure.
Like if you can sit down with someone and show your emotion and just be real, you're going to pick up on that for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, just with, don't even think about it in the interview state. Just like as a friend, like, how can you tell when a friend's interested in something? They talk about it more. They get excited about it more. I mean, obviously you're in a professional setting, so, like, I'm not like, telling, you need to be professional still. But yeah, it's just and it's hard because it's like if you're telling the same story over and over again in interviews and like other things, and the balance between formulaic and authentic, that in itself is really hard. But like, it's just what's cool to you, man.
Yeah,
right.
That's all I'm really caring about.
I'm going to lead in with another question.
Yeah, go for it.
One thing I like to ask in this is, like, so you talked about that sociology professor that you hung out with and they talked to a lot.
Yeah.
Not necessarily from them, but like, what's the best advice that you got when you were going through this that you still to this day think about, and you're like, wow, if someone hadn't told me that, or if this person hadn't done this with me or shown me this, I don't know where I would have gone.
Are we allowed to cuss on this?
Sure, it's fine.
I think we have before. So yeah.
Okay, it's a bad one.
Not
Not a bad, but
if I have to, I'll bleep it.
Okay.
We have the capability, I think.
We have the technology.
the best advice.
I want you to be real.
No,
You tell the whole
it was
thing.
like 5 words. So it was fuck the pre-med department. It was literally it was that. And like, because I came like after my first semester freshman year, my GPA, I can totally find the same numbers. GPA was a 308, which isn't like the lowest, but like as a, when you see like the 3.7, the 3.6, the 3.7 average accepted GPA, you're like, that's not where I need to be. And so, second semester came around, did a little bit better, but, average was still like 3.4 or something like that, maybe a little less. And I was like talking to the pre-med department. I was like, hey, guys, like, I know the first semester didn't go so well, but like, I'm interested in pre-med, clearly like I got like that thing, I'm trending and all that stuff. And they were like, you should not apply. They were just like, first semester freshman year, or after the first year, they were like, you should not apply. You will have no shot. Like, do not do this. Very much shot me down, very much turned me down. And so, I was hurt. So some would say, I'd put in a lot, gone through a lot emotionally, all those other things. And like, don't get me wrong, they have to, they very much have to, they have a certain job to do, and, they need to make sure that their stats look good and other things of that sort. But
I hate that.
But yeah, I mean, like, there's a difference between just saying like you can't do this and like
this is going to be hard.
Yeah, look, if this is what you want to do, these are the things you're going to need to do to get to that point. And I think that thankfully, the BC pre-med department now has a different head and is taken in a much different direction. We're very thankful for that. But at the time, it was very much like I did not feel supported or cared for on their front, and so. But
you feel like that's changed now?
Yeah, I believe so. Not since I went through it, but just talking to current students who are there, I've heard that because there was a beloved biology professor who is now the head of it, and everyone's like, okay, cool. She actually like cares about the students and is like, actually like a legitimate human being and recognizes, that we all go through different things. Doesn't matter who you are. We will have ups and downs in our things, and some may be more visible on a GPA than others, and some may be more visible on a score than others. But like, that's just that's just kind of. Whatever. But so with that, like a mentor of mine and an advisor of mine was very much just like, don't worry about them. Keep on doing you. that's what's the most important thing. Keep on, doing what you enjoy. Keep on doing, what makes you excited and all that type of stuff. And I did, I continued to, after the first semester of freshman year, continued to make dean's list, continued to do very, very well in my classes, continued to, learn more about myself and grow as a human being. And, it's obviously hard to, it sometimes is scary to grow when GPA is on the line, because
you feel like you can't take that shot.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
It's
exactly.
too big of a risk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're all like, I remember being super concerned about this sort of, I need to get this professor because they give the easier tests and they give the easier grade and those types of things. But no, so with them, it was just focus on yourself. And that's the thing is regardless of whatever you end up doing, even if pre-med ends up not being the thing for you, it's, as long as you're figuring out what works best for you, as long as you're moving towards a certain direction, that's okay. And whatever pace you're taking, it's okay. And so that's very much where the advice I was being given was just don't worry about what other people are telling you. Just focus on yourself. Everyone's on their own journey, taking their own time, their own speed, at their own speed. It's great.
So do you mind if I jack this for a second? Because I'd like to spend some time on this, because I feel like this is...
I got a couple questions about it.
Hit the
actually.
questions,
So,
but I want to come back to this.
well, they're in regards to this, but it's kind of like a two-parter question. So did you...
Please, Dad, stop fighting over that.
Did you...
Not like last Father's Day.
Matt, I'm going to get you.
I knew it first.
I want to ask the question.
We had talked about this.
So did you kind of take it... You were kind of describing... Did you kind of take it as an approach of I'm still going to try this. I want to kind of prove someone wrong, that I still can do this. And then did you have, when this came up, did you have a backup plan or something to do? Because a lot of people do. I know.
Absolutely. So sorry, the question was backup plan?
Yeah, I guess. And did you have that kind of prove you wrong kind of attitude?
Oh, of course. And I mean, I think with anyone, if you tell some, for certain people, if you tell them you cannot do the thing, then there is a part of me that's I'm gonna do the thing then.
It's like the 5-year-old inside of us.
Exactly. Dude, my fifth, I still remember this. Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. My fifth grade teacher told me. He went around, and I don't know the point of this, and, psychologists who are listening in, please tell me how this messed me up. But he went around and told every single student where he thought they were going to go to college. And was oh, Joshua, because I still remember this, of course. Joshua, you will go to Harvard. And, was just very going around, and then came to me and was Keats, you will go to Tijuana Tech. And I was just and, nothing against Tijuana or Tijuana Tech. I don't even know if that college exists. But he was very much making a point of, you're not going to amass too many things. Because he was going around telling all these students, they're going to, even if you're thinking, oh, this is funny, I'm 10. Dude,
Right. Things stick with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, of course, since then, I was oh, okay, that's how we're going to play it. And, I very much remember, working my butt off to, go move against that. And so, of course, after the pre-med department told me that, and, a fair amount of crying, there was some working against, I'm going to prove you wrong. Of course, absolutely. I do think, backup plan. My backup plan was actually to do. There's a thing called JVC, which is Jesuit Volunteer Corps, which is basically just we're doing service, and we the Jesuits. It's focusing on reflection and some of these other ideals, the cure personalis and men and women for others, all that stuff. Trademark Jesuits, but they it's. That's what I was gonna do if that wasn't gonna work out, because I knew that there were a few things that I knew at that point that I needed in my life, which was working with others, and I needed some form of reflection, and I knew that I could get that from them. What I didn't, how much did I believe that I wasn't gonna get into medical school? I mean, there's always a part of me, and there's always a part of me that didn't believe I was going to get in. I'm a third year, and I'm still oh.
I was going to say, there's still a part of me that I was should I have gotten it? I look at myself against some, the applicants now, I'm oh, there's no way.
Yeah.
I laugh in the room sometime when I'm saying, I'll be reading stuff, I'm I can't believe I have to learn this right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's weird how much it feels, fragile is kind of the wrong word, but temporary, Like,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
things
Or
are
questionable.
Yes. Like, there is self-doubt within me, absolutely, who is just like, the imposter syndrome that, basically everyone, deals with during medical school and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Coming in and also in college as well, my gosh. That was just really, really crazy.
Do you mind explaining what imposter syndrome is real quick?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. So imposter syndrome, it's basically this idea of like, everyone else is meant to be here but me, and I need to therefore work harder to prove that I am worthy of here, even though, and I mean this truthfully, wherever you go to school, they put you in there for a reason. They see something within you even if you do not see it.
You're not a mistake.
You are.
You're not a typo.
I mean, I mean, my parents might say I'm a mistake, but that's. But in regards to the medical student thing, yes. In regards to what the neighbors views me, he does not call me.
That's going to be the title of this podcast. My parents view me as a mistake.
It's fine. It's we're all there. It's all good. Vasectomies aren't 100% effective.
Yeah.
But no. Yeah. So it's What was I saying? Sorry.
I want to circle back because I feel like
please do.
the point that you were talking about, that someone in your pre-med department told you shouldn't apply.
Yeah.
Like, that boils my blood
Yeah.
more than anything in
Yeah,
the
of
world.
course.
Anyone who's out there right now listening,
Yeah.
no one should ever tell you you can't apply.
Yeah.
What they should say to you is, hey, listen, you have a big uphill challenge. Like, I'm just being real. It's very different from being real and telling me that, if you want to try this, like, we can do it, but like, just know it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Versus, well, Michael, you didn't do so well in your MCAT, and you can't apply. Like, I find it funny that the three of us are in med school, and we've all had someone say that to us before.
I think that's the point of this session that we're trying to do, is that, like, there are so many different paths you can take.
Yeah.
And that's why I
There's
want to
no
stay
one
on this
thing.
topic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any department that tells you that, so let me just clarify real quick, Northeastern, anyone who's listening from Northeastern, you do not have the same department I had. Your department is completely changed. I did not have Sierra. I did not have the other guy, I don't even know his name, who's in charge. I had a completely different department, and the person that I'm talking about that told me that is not Dr. Bagley or Cynthia. I love those two. But someone in that department definitely told me that I couldn't apply, and that irked my gears more than anything in the world. And no one should tell you that. You can figure this out. The best advice I ever got was one of my mentors one day was like, Michael, if you want to do this, you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
The only reason you don't get into medical school is when you decide you're done.
Yeah.
If you want to get in, you're going to get in. You're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that how it keeps changing.
That whole
So-
mentality of look to your left, look to your right. Only one of you is going to get into medical school.
Right.
Is so bogus.
God, yeah.
All of my friends that I went to Northeastern with, they're all in. I was the last one to get in.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone who continued to press forward who didn't get in.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you said that, I was just like, oh my God. My skin stood up, my hair, oh my God, my blood was boiling.
Right.
Oh no, I vividly, I remember where I was because it was over the phone. I was sitting in this sort of place in my lab, like it's kind of like a corner where you could like it was an enclosed area. You could bring in your phone because we're working with dangerous chemicals and things of that sort. But I just remember sitting there in the chair by myself, lights were off, and just like being quite sad. It was definitely a low. I definitely felt incredibly low, and I felt like my hard work had been for nothing. I felt invalidated. I felt like I felt like that just
Like they took it from you.
yeah, I didn't see. It was not okay. It was not. I'm trying to find nice words to say.
Like you couldn't see another path or something like that?
Yeah. Like, and once again, I'm sure dealing with on their end a lot of having to deal with people who get rejected from medical school and having to deal with that when it's like, hey, we had already advised you to not, and you rejected, and now coming to us upset and angry with us. I'm sure that there's that end of it as well. Mm-hmm. But at that moment, the tone that they struck was not conducive to something that was okay with me. And and as you said, so many of your friends, now in medical school, I know so many of my friends who have been told the exact same things of like, you're not going to get in, there's no point in applying, and
And this is your first year, right? Like, this is your freshman year.
Yeah, this is after my freshman year.
And I imagine, like, you're going in as a freshman being told, like, this is your plan, this is what you want to do, and then being told that you have to completely overhaul it for the next 3 years. Like, I can't,
without any guidance of what to do with it.
I can't imagine what that felt like.
Not great. Not great, Matt. Not great. No,
to put it lightly, not great.
Yeah, no, and it was also very hard because so much of my self-worth at that time was placed in my academics, and so to be denied an academic thing, and there's a difference between a bad score on an exam, which still to this day, unfortunately, I let affect me. I mean, but is with that especially, where it was just like, hey, like you are not good enough, you are not worthy enough, which is totally separate from that, but I definitely had intertwined with that for sure. Was not it did not feel good. It was not constructive. It does not matter what you're in, but like you need to be constructive with feedback. Try any group thing that we work on, and when you're on the wards in the hospital, all that type of stuff, and they're talking about getting feedback. You don't give feedback to someone saying like you're terrible, you're not going to be good at this. That's not helpful to anyone. It doesn't matter even if they were terrible and we're helpless and all those things. That's not how you approach it as an adult.
Yeah.
So getting feedback from an adult like that, is just, it didn't do good for anyone. And for those out there who are listening, if you got feedback like that, like, I'm sorry for you. I know you're a human and should be treated as such, but whatever.
Yeah, just keep pushing forward if you've gotten that. And like we've told you before, if at some point you decide it's not for you and you want to make a pivot, like, totally fine. Own the pivot, though.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. When you make that choice, don't be wishy-washy. You either commit to this or you commit to something else, but, like, just own it. Like, that's all that matters. As long as you're happy with what you're doing, like, don't let anyone else make that choice for you.
And if it doesn't work out right away, it doesn't work out. You'll figure it out. Try it again. Yeah. There's no shame in trying something the second time. Like people applying twice, 3 times to get in.
Yeah. I mean, we have people in my class. I don't know about the people in your class as well, but like, we have people in our class in our 30s. They got went and did a PhD and did something else, and we're like, oh, okay, I think that this is what I like. Oh, and if you do something else. Just because you're in medical school, you can be pre-med and do something totally different, and come out of undergrad doing something totally different and still be pre-med. You don't need to necessarily do it right away. And I was definitely, the product of you need to get into medical school right away because that is what the people who are going to medical school do. You need to apply in you need to take the MCAT during your junior year and do these other things and do it this way and do it this one way because that is the true way and the only way. And that is incorrect. And, I can tell you from my class makeup, and I'm sure your class makeup and every other medical school's class makeup, that's just not how this works.
Right. It's not an A to B path.
No, absolutely not. And, like, realistically, like, on a admission standpoint as well, like, I would, I know my application, I know what mine read like and all of that stuff, but, like, the person who was like, yeah, I was a teacher for a few years, I really like teaching, but like, I was also doing this other thing, and this other thing meant a lot more to me. And, I still can see myself being a teacher, obviously in the hospital or like, as an through academic medicine and all that type of stuff. But like, this is where I knew more because like, it's just all just figuring out what you want in life, what works for you in life, and like whatever path you take, and you don't have to force it. Yes, try things. I think that's the only thing that needs to be forced is like going out and trying things. Mm-hmm. Like I know for me, I just needed to go out and try all these different, leading these different retreats, mentoring these different groups, and doing these different things, like just to figure out like, okay, this is the thing that I want. This is that, This is the kind of area that I want to be in. And also, like, medicine, like, basically, like, any type of person can fit in medicine.
Right.
Like, you just, need to like studying and know that when in doubt, guess C. And
be personable.
Yeah.
Be a good, genuine person that cares about someone else. Like, I think that is the biggest thing. Because, I'm sure, if you're great at studying, you're great at getting good grades. If you can't, at the end of the day, talk to the patient that's coming to you and is freaking out that they have A, B, and C, it's not going to help them out at all.
Yes. I will say, though, like, there is something, we aren't all necessarily, like, immediately, like, great, if someone's coming to me with like, as an EMT, like if someone's like, perfect example, like, hey, my husband just died and like we have to tell her type of thing, like no one's going to be good at that their first time. Like I know for a fact, talking to doctors who, in having to tell loved ones that their significant other, died, it's, something that you're not going to do for a while. And this isn't like you need to be the most sociable, outgoing person in the world. You need to be on it all the time and great. But you need to be able to, practice at connecting with others and be able to hear where they're at and where they're coming from. I think that's the most important thing. Just to all those like more introverted, out there as well, because like, a lot of people view me as an extroverted person, and I feel like that's relatively
Really?
for everyone who's listening, he was sarcastic in that remark. I am a little outgoing, but like,
Be empathetic.
Yeah, be empathetic. You don't need to be, the guy, me, leading, the icebreakers and, out there and
You were
like,
the first
okay,
people we met."
everyone.
Dude,
Hello.
I'm doing that next week.
Dude, it's so fun.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
It's just great.
So what they're referring to right now is when you first come to school is you can go to this thing, we call it Jump. It's a retreat where the second years will take the first years up to this beautiful retreat area.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Up in,
Shout out Loyal.
I forget where it is. Yeah, no, when they told us we were going there, I was like, oh, we're probably going to like this like little dinky place.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Absolutely.
But so Keats was one of the first people that we met there,
Yeah.
and he got up there and he got us all energized, and he's playing like matchmaker with friends. He's like he puts me and Selma together. He's like, you two will hit it off. And he puts the other people together. You sparked conversation for us. It was, I mean, you were easily one of the first people that I met here, and one of the people that stood out in my mind, and you're definitely one of the people that stands out to our class of like, oh, I have a question. Where the heck is Keats?
Let me go find Keats.
Yeah. Let me go find him.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
No, Keats, you've given us some awesome anecdotes, some great advice today.
Yeah.
You have done tremendous work for anyone out there listening today. Everyone out there who's got this on right now, tomorrow, next week, a month, a year later, I don't care when it is.
Yeah.
I hope you have listened to what Keats has said. That was great, Matt. Do you have anything to follow up with?
I'm gonna like echo everything you said. I think you gave our class kind of like the big like at ease moment coming into school. It was like a relax, like you're here, and like you keep saying, you're here for a reason.
Yeah.
Nobody made a typo in your application. So thank you. I think give everyone who was like struggling with a bad grade, a bad exam, like keep pushing forward. Like there is not a correct path to get here.
No, absolutely not.
Before we close it up and we show you how we do that, do you have any final words that you want to say to anyone? Anything that you didn't get to that you want to get out there real quick?
Besides, hi, mom and dad.
Yeah, I mean, no, please, like, listen, no, I love you, mom and dad, please don't kill me. A question that I don't think has been asked to you guys, but...
to us?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, let's
this
do
is a
it.
two-way thing. Well, because it's also interesting. It's my, and if I interview you next year, please don't use, you'll have an edge up and just say you listen to the podcast and you're in, it's fine. But... my sort of fun question that I like to ask my candidates.
Before you ask it, do you want first or you want second?
Let's see what the question is first.
No.
No.
We got to pick before the question comes.
All right, I'll go first.
You want first?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
So, hello.
Hi, Keats.
What do you hope to learn in medical school?
Ooh.
Outside of the knowledge, outside of the the textbook, knowing how to be a doc, knowing how to diagnose the diseases, all that type of stuff. What do you hope to learn in medical school?
Ooh. That's a good question. Mike, you want to go first?
Sure.
I
think what I personally hope to walk out of medical school with, besides like all the knowledge and all that, is how you build a cohesive team in a medical school that sticks together afterwards. I want to see, it's great right now that in our first and second years, like I do think that our class, I'm sure you feel like this too, Keats. I feel like we have a very good class that we like to hang out with. Like I feel like I could call anyone sometime and be like, hey, I have this patient, like, can you help me out with it? I want to learn how you keep those connections alive and how you really breed that kind of a culture where people do feel like once they've graduated and then I'm in California, or I'm in, I don't know where, Boston, California, somewhere, and Matt somewhere else, or Christina or Emily or Lexi or anyone is somewhere else, I feel like I can still contact that person and have be like I didn't skip a beat. that's what I'm most interested in learning about, in that like social connection of us as people outside of diagnosing a patient.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd say that's mine.
Yeah, absolutely. Great answer.
I would say, like, I would really like to learn kind of like each individual patient that I treat.
Yeah.
And I had a professor explain this to me one time where he talked about where he was treating a patient, and instead of looking at like person like low blood pressure or high blood pressure, excuse me, and instead of going at the high blood pressure, they said like, what's a goal you want to reach?
Yeah.
And I think understanding what each patient's specific goal is, whether it's related to disease, disability or not, and then going at it from that angle. I think it's really important to look at it from each person. I think Loyola is great about doing that, but just like understanding the personal aspect of medicine.
Yeah.
And we've talked about a lot and how it's not always biologically. It can be a ton of social constructs.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Keith, grade us. What do we get on the rubric?
What'd you get on the rubric? I mean, I'd let you guys both in, obviously, but you know, I'm a little biased. They are lovely people and gorgeous. If you haven't seen what they look like, my gosh,
man.
wow! Ryan
I'm blushing right now if you can't see
Oh,
it.
he is. Oh my gosh! Wow, did he get hotter? I don't think that's possible. What? Oh my gosh! Wow. But yes, no, you guys both did great. I don't know. It's just. I think it's an important question to ask, and just to get to understand people, because it's something that it's like it's a reflective thing. It's very much just like what like going into medical school. There's obviously a huge part of me that's like, I want to learn medicine. I want to know how to be a doctor. I want to know like from the EMT perspective, like I was like, I wanted to actually know why that person was sick. I had so many patients where I was like, oh, like you have severe chest pain and like could be going to a heart attack, but like I have no idea what's going on. I don't know how to treat this, or beyond like nitro and aspirin and those types of things. Like,
yeah.
But like it's beyond that. It's just like, where are you still looking to grow? What are some things that you're interested in and excited about and like is really cool? Because like that's those are the things that you should be thinking about and like looking forward to. And because with telling my younger self, it doesn't end once you're in medical school. You still grow. You're still a human being. You still have ups and downs.
A lot to learn.
Still a lot to learn.
And there's a lot to forget.
Yes. Oh my God. Believe me. Shout out step one. But so it's it's just that's sort of where I'm at with it.
It's like the why do you want to be a doctor question.
Yes, but the why do you want to be a doctor question always tripped me up, because it was like I felt like it was so canned and prepared, and so I like to come at it from.
I like this one a lot better.
I like to come at it from a different perspective, so that it's just like it just gets you, because like when someone's like, why do you want to be a doctor? It feels like I'm at a party and like they just found out I'm pre-med and like, so why do you want to be a doctor? And it's like my uncle who like is like, yeah, I kind of know him, that seemed like a fair question to ask. And then you just sit there like, well, I like medicine, but I like people, and like I like these things, and there's nothing wrong with that, but like I just feel like it
need a little more.
Yeah,
right.
It just makes it, it gets to more of what you're thinking about, and just who you are as a person, and what excites you and drives you, and all that type of stuff, and not in a canned way.
Right, I agree. And real quick, we totally forgot. So, for anyone out there listening who's wondering where DeYoung is in this, so DeYoung was doing.
DeYoung dropped out.
No. So DeYoung did this thing called STAR, where he did an 8-week research project. So he's been at school since we finished up, and he's been going hard in the lab since classes ended. Mm-hmm. So he just finished on Friday, and him and his girlfriend just went to Switzerland.
Yeah, so they're on their way to Switzerland right now.
He is still 100% part of the podcast.
Yes.
But he's in Switzerland right now, enjoying himself. Matt, we hope you're having an awesome time out there.
Yes.
We had a whole thing that we were going to do to get you introduced into this, but we were talking to Keats and we got so into it that we completely forgot. And
Sorry, Matt.
I just looked across at someone. I was like, oh my God, we forgot about DeYoung.
So Matt, when you come back, we're sorry.
We're looking forward to having you back, but we hope that you're enjoying Switzerland. And Emily, hello as well. We can't wait to interview you when you come back.
Yes.
But again, Keats, you have given us a great amount of information. We're going to teach you how we close this up real quick. You've listened, so you've probably heard it. So you have a little edge.
We don't even need to teach him.
We don't. So we'll just go right into
you
it.
could feel free to repeat it for me as well.
right.
I'm on labor and delivery nights right now, and I don't know what time or day it is. And when was the last time I had a bowel movement? So I'm very
Perfect. You just follow our lead then.
Let's do it.
All right, you guys. So thanks again for checking in to Three Guys in a White Coat. We had an awesome talk today, and this is Mike signing out.
This is Matt signing out.
This is Keith signing out.
Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll be back later. Bye.